So you've picked up a Cherokee, a Jeep Wrangler. This actually will go for Wranglers, believe it or not. And you've picked it up and you want to get into off-roading. And you've read on the internet about this whole Dana 30, which is a hot topic. Today we're going to learn how to make one hold up with the most basic factory cheap parts you can buy. If you've watched my channel for over the past going on 3 years, how many wheeling adventures we've been on with our Cherokees. And if you've ever paid attention, you've never saw us not drive them back on the trailer. So that's got to be a testament. Of course, there's no fake stuff going on, but that's got to be a testament of what we've got figured out to keep these things together with just some common parts. I'll do a little more explain on that throughout the video of how I ended up where I am with these. Most of you probably know, but this Jeep I picked up, well, the poor fella got arrested, sorry, but so I saw the perfect opportunity to educate y'all on how I would build a cheap Cherokee, relatively all the Jeeps honestly, to what I think it should be built to go off-road with. There's going to be some people that won't, that's got to swear up and down, you got to put tons and 40s on them. There's going to be people saying you need long arm kits. That's opinion. That's up to you if you want to go over here and make it weigh 7,000 pounds and not go up a hill, or if you want to go over here, gut it to its bare necessities and it holds up and it goes really good but it doesn't hold up. There's just a happy medium there. So that's an arguable subject we'll save for another day. This video is based off my opinion that I've been doing this for 20 years, educating you how to do it with bare necessity tools and money and that kind of thing. So for some reason, if you're new, this is a series. I've already done the rear end. It's ready to go. This video is about the Dana 30. We're going to tackle it. And then the next 2-3 videos of this Jeep will be some other stuff that you probably never think about that I do, along with roll cage, safety stuff like that. But if you've watched me, you probably already know where I'm going with axle shafts. We'll educate that. But I got to think, I was like, steering, knuckles, brakes, lower control arms, upper control arms, track bars, springs, shocks, if I hadn't said those. All that stuff, steering boxes, like there's so many simple things that you probably think about, but you don't know exactly what I got going on. So let's get this thing raised up, check it out, and kind of go from there. So if you've seen the Cherokee, you've noticed that I picked, I wouldn't say a piece of junk, but basically a piece of junk, and that's what I wanted it to fit the term cheap challenge. So I think I wound up with like $450 in the Jeep, and obviously I've spent a few dollars on it, trying to keep it under $5,000. Should be very doable budget. So we're going to save the rest of the Jeep all today. We're worried about it on that. If you want to go follow me on the rear end, that's that video there. But today, let's get this thing raised up. And I mean, I don't think there's nothing up here we need to talk about. I mean, just something as simple as me knowing to put washers under a stock motor mount, a factory motor mount, not an aftermarket. I'll explain that later in the video. Shocks, we'll go ahead and get some PB Blaster, because those usually are not fun to come off. Yep. Let's get this Jeep raised up, check out some of the suspension, and then start to tear down. Usually I don't deal with rust. Luckily this one is rusty, so some of the issues that you may run into, I'll probably address those too. So this one is the high pinion, which I may educate you slightly on. That's going to be a full video to me educate on what the high and low pinion is. But just know if you've got a 99 or older Cherokee, should have it. If you have a Wrangler TJ, you never got it. And if you got a YJ, you got it. And if you got a ZJ, WJ, you never got it. Unless somebody's changed it. It's just what they come with. High pinion, people will say don't hold up. If you know, like I said in my other video, if you know my green Cherokee, that is the same Dana 30 that has been in that since 2015 when I built it. Obviously it's the factory one, which is the 95 model, but it's been in that Jeep, been beating on that thing for 10 years, and it's never been unbolted. So You get a lot of people that gets a low pinion on a TJ, throws 40s on a stock axle, and then complains that it doesn't hold up. You're just doing it all wrong, man. That's all it is to it. In this video, we're going to talk about steering, sway bars, the track bar, stuff I do there, and as far as gussets, where they need to go, axle choices. We'll talk about those things. Don't think I'm going to be anti-biased on you, nothing like that. We'll give all the opinions you need to know. These things right here are probably one of the hottest topics on Jeep right now. And later in the video, we'll talk about if you are going to run these. I'll teach you a secret that's probably never been told. Well, for the most part, I've never said it. Or if you want to go buy the CVs, or if you want to buy the RCVs, or for some reason, if you want to spend the money on Chrome Moly. We'll talk about that later on. So before you tackle this project, I was sitting there thinking, maybe you're doing it in your driveway, you need to have all your parts ahead of you. So I'm just going to kind of touch bases on what parts you'll need, then we'll get started on doing some work. Steering, mine's in the mail, is a crossover kit, eBay, Amazon, name brand. I don't think there's enough difference to argue about. That backs up on opinion if you feel like spending more money. But if you have this tie rod, which I'll measure and show you more later on, if you have this tie rod on your Jeep, do not go off-road. This thing will leave you stranded. I've seen it too many times. That thing takes pressure and it buckles and your tires are facing each other like this and you're stuck and you have no way to get out of the trail. We'll talk about it later. I don't care if you weld bolts to it, a broomstick, just zip tie something to it. That thing is junk. But I like the crossover steering. It goes from knuckle to knuckle and then from your knuckle to your drag link, none of the Y link stuff. That's for road driving. As far as steering stabilizer, that's an opinion. I would chunk it. I don't think I own a Jeep with a steering stabilizer. Probably got 5 of them with 8 10-inch lifts with 35s. Not a single one has stabilizer. Sway bar, we're gonna be chunking it. If you want to put disconnects, that's cool. Track bar, preferably a factory track bar. I wouldn't buy no parts stores. They're gonna last about 2 to 10 weeks and the bushing's gonna fall out on you. While we're on the subject, that is the one biggest thing. If I had a fancy editor, this would be so cool, is like a track bar. If you want to reach out and get one that has a Heim joint on one end or a Heim joint on both ends, don't. That's a subject that would take a whole video to explain. But this was designed, this whole suspension was designed in like literally the 70s. It come out in 84, so you can think it was designed in like 82, 3, 4. The way it works, on paper, wrong. With rubber being involved, it works. There's 4 control arm bushings, and then there is a track bar bushing, which Cherokee does have a tie rod on the upper. And like I said, that was just old school technology. So I may have forgot where I was at, but if you take this thing off road and it's flexing out, between all 10 of those bushings, they all have to give and bind thanks to rubber. And if you don't believe me, everyone up until 2004 had that same bushing. I think it's ZJ might have had a different one in the rear. But now they put them with gaps in between them so they can flex to keep the bushings to last a little longer. So, take my cigarette out. So when you take away one of those rubbers, even you're thinking the track bars wouldn't affect the suspension this way, go take the bolt out and then flex it out. That bolt hole will be so slid over one way or the other. Or if you're putting a lift kit on, you put everything together and you got the suspension droop down on jack stands, look at that bolt in the hole. They won't even be close to lined up. So there's where I'm going. If you see something like the Rough Country X Series and it has Heim joints on top and bottom, that is good. I get it. The cat. But if you take away one rubber, that just puts more pressure on whatever rubber is left. So as bad as that does suck, that we can't use the good stuff. If you had true 4-link, if you had true 4-link or a true 3-link with a track bar, that is proper suspension. This is not, it just happens to work. So if you're thinking you're gonna put Heim joints in there and be done with everything, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot quick. So parts list, what would you order? Any crossover steering. Have I already said that? Yeah, I think I've already said crossover steering. Next, for upper control arms, factory WJ control arms with the old junky, rusty, dry crack bushings. Hopefully, by the time you see this, I'll have those listed on my website where you can buy them. Don't go buy a Dorman or any Chinese knockoff. You're gonna put them in there. About 2, 3 weeks, 10 weeks into the Jeep, they're just gonna fall apart. And then, same thing, WJ lower control arms off the front. These things are amazing. I've had them in my green Jeep. I think after 10 years, I finally just decided to pull them out and put another set back in there. If you break these, you're doing something freaking insane. Other than that, your choice of axles, we'll talk about later. And that's it. If you do want to put shocks, order whatever shocks you want. They're really no comment there. You get what you pay for. So if you, well, not really. Bilstein's $500 and some a set. I wasn't too impressed with them. But anyway, cheapest possible probably, honestly. This build, we're going to be using factory shocks. So from this point forward, I know it's going to seem crazy, is I am going to take this entire front end out. You do not have to take the front end out, but I've done so many of them. Doesn't take me long. The steering, we're getting rid of it. The sway bar, I'm getting rid of it. The shocks, they gotta come loose. The brakes gotta come off. We got all 4 control arms, so all 4 bolts are gonna come out. So if you do the math, you're literally gonna have every single bolt out. So why would you not just go ahead and take the front end out, make it easier to work on, that kind of thing. But I understand if you're intimidated and don't want to do it, I get it. And then I've already got the diff cover draining. This one, we are going to be welding it. We'll talk about that when we get there. So this given point, I think I'm going to start the teardown process and get everything situated, and we'll start bracing up what needs to be braced. And yeah, I'm waiting on my steering in the mail, so I can't go too far. I think we got to go find some factory springs. Oh, spacers. I've got 3-inch spacers. I may actually put an extra spacer on top of that. Give us about 3.5 inches of spacing. Drive shaft, we'll talk about it. That will probably still be in the Jeep. That we probably ain't even going to unbolt. It's good to go. So, I got a lot of work to do. This thing's got to be done in about 2 weeks. I'm running behind. So we'll get this thing took apart. Y'all are still in that camera right there. So I noticed that the brake rotor had a flat spot, which I can only assume is junky as this thing is. The tire probably fell off. And it did. If you look real carefully, you can see that this has been drugged down the road, and yeah, it's gonna be a little pain to get off there. So this has kind of been a struggle, but it still hasn't took that long. Almost there. Alright, disregard the crappy remote. Disregard the front clip missing. It's kind of hard to explain, but I had to hammer this in right here for the tire clearance. And when the axle's out, that's the time to do it. But technically, that's next video. It's very confusing, YouTube stuff. But you can see I've got a mess in the floor, but we're in the right steps. So, alright, I know y'all won't notice this weirdness, but if you can see, can y'all see? How's this work? So this is actually my time-lapse camera. I'm in the process of building the front end, but I got the front end out, so I got to smash the fenders in to clear. Hopefully by now you know what tires are going on it, but I just had to get this scene to show you what to do because it's complicated, YouTube stuff. So you don't necessarily have to take the fenders off. We're not worried about this right now. We're just worried about swinging a hammer at this part. But all I'm gonna do is cut right across about there, somewhere between the 2 bolts and the fender. We'll just start up through there, and you can cut this, but honestly, you're better off not to cut it. You're gonna take a hammer and smash all this crap in there. So that's what I'm gonna do. Other side, same thing. I mean, you honestly don't even have to cut this. I just do it. And we're gonna start smashing that in so we can clear some tires. All right, easy part. I sure hate this part, but it's so much easier now than tires scrubbing. That lip right there, fold it in and get the sharp edge to go away. Now we're just going to continuously beat the fender back up into the body. Break number 1. It's been a while since I built a Jeep and I can't remember how much you do this. But I don't want the tires to rub. But I don't know. Let's try a bigger hammer. Basketball. Oh. Y'all get the concept. I'll show you when it's done. Probably on another camera. I wish I had scripted these next few steps, but we're just gonna go down the list, what I think you should do. So we've got everything out. I'm putting new calipers on there. I think we should start with these. Let's grab some more light. Harbor Freight. So let's get there. So I typically don't brace this pocket. If you wanted to weld a washer here, that's fine. Or if you wanted to take a piece of metal and go from there to there, then you know. If you catch my philosophy, if something doesn't break, if you put just a little bracing on it, then you're good. And so far my philosophy works. But you can see this one, same thing right there. I mean, that's pretty good metal, honestly, thick for what that is. And we're not even gonna talk about the lowers. All we're worried about is these. So let's see if I can get, if you know, you know, I changed the starter. So let's grab an upper, and if you can't afford or don't have WJ stuff, I feel like Pick Aparts will be full of WJs, but if you wanted to get you some like 16th inch thick with about 1 inch wide, weld across right there, that's fine. It's hard to explain, but when you take this front end and you jump and land, it's going to try to torque backwards. And what it's going to do, I'll show you eventually in this video, but it's going to buckle these and collapse these, whereas these are fully tubed and they don't do it. So these could be upgraded very easily. I would weld a washer in there, maybe a strip of metal. I've seen, well, I've cut these off before and put a piece of tube in there. There's many ways. These are basically direct bolting. Now let me get one stuck up here and show you the dilemma. All right, I'm just using a lady leg for example or illustration. So we're gonna stick it back up in here, put a bolt about where it goes. So obviously this moves up and down, and you can see it's gonna go to about right there, and it's gonna hit. So we're right now, y'all can tell we're about hand width below the oil pan. So take that one out, get our WJ. Now if you was just to stick this up here, with the lady leg in the hole, the droop will not even come. So it's about 8-inch separation. It was here, this one's here. So if you see there's a little bit of material, how well can y'all see? Move that light. We're gonna take us a Sawzall, a grinder, whatever you prefer, torch. Not on the other side, it's the gas line. We're just gonna cut straight down through here, down to about the lower control arm, and we're gonna whack that off. And when we get that off, we're gonna take our mount on the body, we're gonna notch it, and back in there we can see. Honestly, you don't have to cut it off. You can just notch about an inch of it down, and then take and just bend it down. So let's get that knocked out. Got y'all in pretty close. Let's see if we can not melt my camera down. Sawzall. Alright, that piece ejected. Let's go. It doesn't have to be necessarily all the way against the frame. You can see it's going to try to pinch. We're going to try to come out here. Alright. See if we can get it started down. Oh yeah. It's going to hit there now. Let's get a better tool. You could have stopped like immediately, just enough room for it to sag, but I was trying to get the sharp edges out of the way for somebody else. All right, let's back y'all up. See now, all we've changed is that bracket. And now we officially drop 2 hands below the oil pan. So got better droop than we had with our weak control arm. So that's got the uppers took care of. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna use a Sawzall since there is a gas line right there. And that's pretty much it. Now on the axle, when we go back together, there is a little issue right here, but I think it's just bolted in and go. I'll just show you something you may expect to see. All right, got both of them in there. I did upgrade from this thing with a tab where you have to tighten the nut back here. Now it's just a regular control arm bolt. Has a 15 millimeter head on it, so we can get an impact gun through there. Still usually better to tighten them on the nut side, but you can't get the bolt in backwards, so it'll do the job. And then that's a little more up close if you need to see. So we've got plenty of droop now. Now the next part is probably one of the most important parts, so listen carefully. Obviously, if you know the 4.0 was never designed to go in this thing, I'm sure it was slapped together in a hurry. The whole AW4, everything was just a combination that just kind of snuck up. So, if you off-road, you can see those little marks right there. Okay, so these control arms in a normal suspension travel will squeeze all the way up into there. It's freaking wild. This one squeezes up into that hole right there. So if you do something radical and all these rubber bushings are out of whack and the motor's shifted over, this control arm will come over, go up, and then it'll pinch these transmission lines. You won't know it, it'll still run fine, but you'll be driving down the road and this transmission will get hot. You're done. So there's how many different ways to do it. I'm gonna try, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. It's crazy. You'd almost be better off to scoot them down and tuck them underneath like right there. And then also, if you get really radical with me, or with your Cherokee, this will come over so hard. That's the oil pump right there. So, you know, the distributor comes straight through. That little bulge is the oil pump. So if you ever do some radical jump and you for some reason have like 0.5 PSI, but you can rev it up and it'll come up, probably broke your oil pump off. I broke about, I don't know, probably 12, 15 over the years. Very common. So how are we gonna address this that you can do at home? Even if I scoot them over into there, we're still gonna be, let's see if we can tuck them in right there. I ain't never done it that way, but it might work. We just need to not be in this line of fire right there. So you can imagine what that's gonna do when you jump a hill. So, not going to participate really easy. Let's unsnap them, so we're just working with one at a time. Now let's take it. Pull really hard. Well, I don't love it, but it's better. Let's see if we can get this one to come over with us. Tell you what, let's take this snap together right here and use it in this area. Snap. Alright. I'm not in love with it. But it might work. You can hit your axle and it bottom out on the axle, but it's pretty tough. So I mean, that'll work. That costed $0. And I am gonna take this off and rerun the starter, but you can just let it ride if you don't give a crap. I don't know. We'll test it at some point in this video. So I might stick the axle up with no springs and show y'all suspension travel, but for now, I think that's got it covered. Oh, if I forget to tell you, never, ever put your bolt this way. You always want both the nuts facing the passenger side because you got that sharp bolt and it's just more to catch in that area. So that's why they come up with this. They had this design right here, which is just as, they knew they had a problem. They just masked it. So this was the first solution. Then they went to a beveled torque head. So you can see right there is going to be your smoothest option. And then this one over here, can y'all see? We'll start hitting in the frame, which isn't a big deal. But again, you want your nuts on the passenger side. Don't forget that. All right, next is lower control arms. These right here, this is where you're gonna read on the internet and people's gonna bash Cherokees, talking about that they don't stay on the frame. If you're up north and it's rusted out, I mean, you kind of knew that was coming. But as far as normal applications, I think everybody puts, I mean, you think pressure when you hit a bump like that. Now, put a 6-8 inch short arm, it's just asking for trouble. So I think my green Jeep that y'all are familiar with is bone stock. Actually, I'm gonna take a break and go see because I want to know myself. All right, we're back here with my junk Cherokees. You're probably most familiar with the red two-door or this green one, which has been through absolute heck. And I'm trying to remember. Yes, that is 100% bone stock, nothing added to it, which is about what I'm about to teach you. And the lowers, they got a brace, needs a U-joint. But right there, that's the arms we're using. Uppers are different, but you can use different ones. Let's see, I think that one is braced just because I knew it was gonna be heavy. Again, back up to the sayings, like you can do as much bracing as you want to. I'm trying to teach you what you have to do. So let's drop under here. Yep, that is bone stock right there. No material added. So yeah, he's got a little brace right there. We'll teach you that when we get back in the shop. But if we ain't breaking the lower control arm brackets off bone stock, you shouldn't either, because we're pretty ridiculous with our stuff. Which I'll elaborate why we're so rough on our stuff at the end of the video. If you know, you know. Alright. Now, lower control arms. Once again, I know you're going to be tempted to click on eBay, whatever, and see some with this giant Johnny joint or Heim joint. Just stay away from it. One of those back there I tried. I kept replacing the upper control arm bushings because I got rid of rubber right here. It just takes away from the whole, yeah. So again, if you wanted to use factory, I think Justin's red one I showed you has the same principle. Lay a piece of metal right under here. I mean, it can be the same thickness as this right there. And honestly, this thing will probably be fine. But I like these because they're fully boxed in and they got a little more bushing to them. And you can see they're bent so you can run a bigger tire. It doesn't rub that sharp edge right there. So I've even seen people run these upside down. it's not a terrible idea, honestly. But this bushing this one is supposed to go at the axle, but we're gonna change it up from what they have. This one is a little bit wider, and this one is just a smidge wider. So this one, when we go on the axle, I'll show you. I think all I'm gonna do is just, well, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna take a hammer and bend the bracket out, leave that alone. But this one, see, Cherokee has this thing right here for alignment purposes. So I took it out, and it's so close to fit. So all I'm gonna do is take the grinder. I don't even think I gotta show you that. And right there, I'm just gonna nick about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little less, and make sure it flattens back out. And that should slide right up in there. So let me knock that out real quick, and we'll go on to the next step. Now the upper control arm, you can see I just took a pinch off of it. Try to keep it flat, level, you know, all that good stuff. You can see it slides right in. So now I was thinking, I just showed you 2 Jeeps that you don't have to do nothing to. You can just stick it up there, bolt it. The only kicker is this is one I'm giving away. I want it to be good and built. So what I got to thinking, you'll have this at home. It's just a round hole, and it's just enough material to brace it up. And what will happen, you want this bolt all the way back. Number 1, if you hit, it's already bottomed out. Number 2, gets into knuckle geometry for trail riding. You honestly would want to scoot it back even farther. We'll save it for another day. Everybody thinks you want to push it forward to clear the tires right here. You can, but it lays the knuckles back so far that it's impossible to steer. So we'll save it for another day. So what I was thinking is that almost just fits perfectly. So if this was just free metal you had laying around, it's basically ready to go. I was thinking, you know, see, you just cut across right there, and then maybe cut straight down, cut across, and let's see. Yeah, let's just keep it simple, and then we'll just cut it across right there. If you do that, you're good. Now the hole is not oblong, so it's not trying to slide. And on the back side, I'll grab y'all and show you. This is pretty simple. You can see my yellow line. I'm just gonna cut it and then clean all this up there. Make sure we don't burn our fuel line, and I'm gonna weld them on there. And that goes back to my saying, if that holds up fine the way it is and you put a little extra effort into it, should be good. So you pretty much know what's going to happen. I'm going to knock this out, get this cleaned up, get these cut, welded. We'll bolt our lowers in, keep moving forward. It's going pretty good, actually. It's a little time consuming, but it's going to be worth it when it's done. Alright, Dana 39. I meant to clean it, but it never happened. We'll just work on it dirty. That's so crazy. You can pick up this whole front end that holds this whole Jeep together by hand. That's still with the carrier. Alright, let me get set up on where to start. Alright, I do apologize about the fan noise. It's 93. So it's pretty spicy. So what we have here, bone stock Dana 30 like you got. Pretty sure I explained high pinion at the start of the video. Yeah, I think I touched bases on it. Long story short, you got a low pinion. You can off-road with it. But the way I word it, if you ever plan on the tires coming off the ground and going back and touching the ground without letting off the gas pedal, you need a high pinion. They're saying that the low pinion is just un-off-roadable is a complete lie, because every TJ ever put on the road come factory with a low pinion, whereas the Grand Cherokee ZJ all had low pinions. Some reason makes no sense. Jeep put the high pinion in the Cherokee and never put it in the Wrangler TJ. All right, I'll explain that in another video. High pinion is where it's at. If you got a 2000, 2001, it's going to hit the Kelly converters. That's why you don't have one. Sorry. 01 XJs. So, what's the main thing that goes wrong with these as far as the suspension goes? This thing right here. Think of all your four links are all, matching geometry, everything's lined up. Now let's say, like I said, I can't do a fancy edit, but when you give it throttle, the front end trying to roll back. It's the same principle as we did the ladder bars back there, traction bars. So when this thing tries to roll back, it's pushing pressure on these top arms up here. And this thing right here, how this designed, I have no idea, made it out. But when you push pressure, it's just going to squeeze these tabs right here together, okay? That's okay. What happens next is when this pushes forward, your suspension geometry lengths get out of whack. Lengths, not links, length. So now this one is taking all the pressure. So it's taking all the pressure because this one's made solid. You ain't breaking that one off there. This one puts all the pressure on that little control arm we just threw away back there, and it buckles. Then what does that do? That puts more pressure on to this one that is not buckled yet, and the next thing you know, this one buckles, and this one's taking all the pressure, it buckles. So I think if you took lug nuts and welded lug nuts just in this area right here, I think you'd be fine. But I think Iron Man off-road, God, there's so many Iron Rock, Iron Man, and all. I can't keep them apart. But anyway, you can find this little brace anywhere, or you can buy it. I'm sure it's $15, and voila. Fits right in there. It ain't got to be a perfect fit. Obviously, you got to clean it to weld it. So that takes care of that. You fix that, you never have trouble again. Of course, you're going to go through bushings. But so that is number one. Number two is, I got the dirt in the floor to keep the welder from scratching my floor. Where are we at? Y'all see? Knuckles. And this is, first off, quit putting ball joints in them. If these things are tight, which these are super tight, you don't need them. It's just I don't know how they got out there that you need ball joints, but more than likely you don't. If this one down here moves up and down, you need ball joints. Get Spicer. We'll save that argument for another video, but these are probably Spicer. This is a 1997 Jeep, and they're still holding up fine. Moog and the heavy duty ones. And I see people now, they've got a ball joint eliminator. If we're not breaking ball joints, I don't see what the purpose is, but when we talk about U-joints, we'll elaborate back on that. But anyway, don't worry about your ball joints as long as they're tight. If not, I'll try to find a Spicer part number. That'd be what I'd personally run. Call these the inner C's for the knuckle. The bottom one, I know the same Iron Man fab, he makes one for the bottom. Personally, I think it's a waste of money. You can put it on there, it's just more weight you're carrying around in a useless brace in my opinion. This right here, again, how it got out the factory door, I have no idea. That's tiny. So if you ever go look at a Jeep and the tires are laid in like this, like it's jumped a hill, it probably has. It doesn't take much, and this gets just pushed over. If you ever look straight down right there, this should be a straight line, so you'll see this and start to walk over. I don't even know what I'm going to use on this one. I think I've been using flat bar, just welding across there. That'll be next step. On top side, that's about it. So I think I'm going to get started on those. And then I've got something new I just invented. If you watch the rear end video, you may have a clue what I'm fixing to do. But I'm going to try something I've never done. See if we can sneak a little bracing out of your Dana 30. Alright, so I'm going to knock a few of these projects out. Then we'll flip this thing over and keep it from All right, if you watch the time lapse, you guessed it. This time, trying bolts. This is actually the front axle. No, it's upside down. That is a, where is that? I know y'all can't see. The long motor mount bolt. That's that, and then that is that control arm bolt right there. So, honestly, I say it doesn't take much to support them. We're gonna go with not much. And then, got that welded up, looks pretty good. I got to thinking probably I should have left more of a hole open, that way if mud or dirt or something gets in there. See how they did a whole thing back there, so probably be fine. But we are going on to these. Again, these you could probably never put a brace on them. They'd be fine, but if you hit something stupid hard, they will tweak. So I got to thinking, I was like, instead of custom making anything else, I got to thinking, I said, let's just do hack job stuff. So remember what we did right there? I went down to my local pick apart, is what I'm gonna lie and say, and got one of them, because they're on every single XJ, MJ on the road, so there's gotta be a ton of them, and that's better than nothing. So we really don't have to get exactly on the axle, just close enough that you can get a weld in there. So like this side, I'm gonna take and measure from basically the axle to the start of the hole is about 2 inches. So we'll take a bracket and we'll start 2 inches. Should be, we'll go at just a little bit of an angle. And I think the inside is gonna be impossible to measure because of the axle tube. But just a little bit less, 1 7/8, so not much. We ain't gotta, I'm just gonna guess at it. Let me go cut those and see how they fit. Or haven't even tried them, they're still hot. Let's see, it's gonna be a shorter one. So I'll get a bolt for alignment purposes. That one, hurt. Stick it through there. And this end. It's gonna be hard for y'all to see, but it's perfect as well. This one right along in here where the tube meets, it's gonna be hard to weld, but that side's gonna be easier, so I'm gonna get those two cut, welded, and then debate if I'm gonna do one more extra brace for these, so they should be perfect. Before, that's where it's hard to weld right there, and before. After, not the best welds, but it'll do. Kind of hard to clean. After, and after. I was originally going to add something extra to those. I'm going to let them ride. I think they're good. Like I said, I rarely bend the factory one, so when they doubled up, we're good. In the morning, I'm going to try something I've never did before. Typically, you don't bend this short tube, but if you look, dead center is where something normally would bend. If you was to try to bend something, it'd bend in the middle. That's dead in the center. So right here is our problem area, and then this tube right here seems to be soft material, so it'll just tweak. If you watched the video of me doing the rear end, you probably know what I'm fixing to try to do. I've never tried it. We're gonna try it in the morning, but it's gonna take not a long time, but it's gonna take a hot minute. So far, it's coming together good. We're not as far off in this video as I thought. I figured this is gonna be like a 4-hour series, but we're getting there. Told you I was gonna do that in the morning. It's dark. If you know me, you know. So let's see, like I said, if you watch that video, you know I took half of a drive shaft. It literally just sit on top of there, and I could have did it one piece. I just had those two pieces laying around, so welded that, and I'll go back on my philosophy. I'm gonna keep on preaching. Most people don't bend tubes at all, so with that, I mean, not even 2 pounds of added material, probably pretty good off. Now this thing, I hope in time lapse you're able to tell what I did. I took some rod like that right there, and I cut a notch about every 3/4 of an inch, and it worked out pretty perfect. I just would weld some, hammer it down, weld, hammer, and yeah, like I said, that spot weld, and it is hot by the way. And I've busted the housing. Hey, I gotta weld that spot weld too. I've busted that housing twice, and Dylan did it the first time he raced his Jeep. So I would do it to avoid busting it. Most ridiculous air stuff you see with Cherokees when they land and break it, that's where it breaks. So I'm just trying to, if you keep it from busting the cast iron, it'll bend the tubes, which you can pie cut, straighten them back out, and save it. But if you bust the housing, I've fixed them, but it's not very fun. So. Only thing I did think about overnight is these things here. That's hot right there, golly. Is the WJs are just a smidge wider on this end. Yeah, let's see if we can get a hammer. We got the hammer turned on. Oh yeah. Probably gonna end up, you probably should have been on before, but there's enough meat hanging off right there. I'm just gonna grind a little bit off that and keep from distorting that bracket a whole bunch. But other than that, I'm gonna let it chill. We got to drill a hole right here and weld a washer, and that's about it for the front end. Still gotta weld the gears up and talk about axles. Good stuff. So once again, I gotta let it cool. Everything's too hot to touch, and then tomorrow day we'll get back on. I did have a little extra time here, so let's just quickly go over. Come on, Eddie, you gonna help? Axles, there's universal style, and then there's what's called constant velocity, CV shaft. There's so much hype about that, and I did a few videos on it, and there's always gonna be comments over here, there's comments over here, and you're either far over here or you're far over there. It's just like politics. There's no, actually I'm in between, honestly, probably more in between than anybody else. If you was going in a straight line, I personally think this is stronger than the CV. Just brutally truth. But I can explain it better in another video. This one, if it does break, if it spits a clip out, or if it breaks the U-joint, and the way these ears stack, it'll pop your knuckle off, and then you're stuck. Who knows where you're gonna be with your knuckle broke off, and it's just a miserable experience. So these still do break, but I've never seen one of these break and leave you stranded on a trail. You may have a broke axle, but you're not gonna break your entire knuckle off like these will. So that's that. I'll put the part number in the description. I get these at O'Reilly's. Basically a 93 through 98 Grand Cherokee. Direct swap, don't have to change nothing. Swap bolts in, you don't have to take the ABS tone wheel off there for 91 and newer. I got a video on that as well too. Search Renix. And then if you do want to spend the money, I admit, I used to think it was ridiculously stupid to spend $1,500 for a set of axles to go on a Dana 30. But if you go ride with us and see the smiles on our face and we're not breaking stuff constantly, I don't know how a company can make an axle so strong that's smaller. Well, you'll see it later in the video. It's completely smaller than both of those right there, but this thing is, oh my gosh, they're so strong. A true lifetime warranty. They ain't gonna hassle you ever. Somebody mentioned tire size. I'm not gonna say if you broke 25 of these shafts and kept hounding about the warranty that they might bring it up, but if you're running 40s for some reason, I don't think personally they'd ever say a word about the warranty in an axle. Actually, well, I'm not gonna say his name. I know a buddy that's warrantied a bunch of them. And like I said, these are the same CV style constant velocity. So that is the one downside about the U-joint is the way they work, they speed up and slow down. So if you got your wheels fully turned and you floor it and you're spinning in a mud hole, your wheels will start doing that right there. So these, you can turn them full lock and they're constantly spinning the same speed. So it don't matter if it's straight, turned, it doesn't wheel hop. So like, we can go so far in depth in that. I knew this part of the video was coming. Go watch this video. We talk about all the pros and cons. But for this video, I thought about boiling it down to the simple way. If you're going out and you're not going to be spinning tires, really calculated driving, and let's just be honest, if you're going out just to leisurely ride, not do nothing crazy, and you're going to be cautious about stuff, U-joint's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It obviously works. They're in every one of them. But if you're going out to party, you're going to be drinking, doing stupid stuff, you're going to do stuff you regret, or you like to go out and get rowdy and you don't want to have to work on it on the trail, I think the CV would be better for you. So you don't have to worry about hitting something and your tire falling off in a mud hole, or like my experience at Windrock, we're 13 hours, well, a long hours from the truck, and next thing you know, your whole knuckle breaks off. It's quite depressing. That's that. If you have the money to spend on RCVs, I don't think you'll regret it. And if you're contemplating on buying these, I think they're about $100 now at O'Reilly's. You can get cheaper ones. Put them in there, try them. If you hate them, go back to your U-joint. You still got it. Or O'Reilly's will let you carry these back and just say, I want my money back. So that's that. And yes, if you know what's fixing to happen, this is my giveaway Jeep. So my first giveaway was a set of axles. Now we're going to give an entire Jeep away with a set of RCVs. So that is where we'll be going from here. But till in the morning, actually in the morning, that's it for now. Go to the comments. I guarantee you the U-joint people will be over here, and then the CV people will be over here. Just bang, bang, bang. It's whatever. I'm just being honest. So I'm gonna let that cool, and then we'll start bolting together. Got 2 more small things to do, and then we'll start bolting together, start welding up, finish this baby up. All right, going together, if you're doing this however you're doing it, the easiest way, it's not a how-to video, but let the Jeep down, pick the axle up, and just get the 2 upper control arm bolts. Make sure to have the nuts on the passenger side, and you can raise it up and you can just start putting it together. But where I was at is we're fixing to talk about an issue here and an issue here. And like I said, if you want to use other stuff, you won't have these issues, but there's consequences and whatever the word there, there's downsides of some parts. Like if you get Rough Country fixed short arms that kind of make the bow to clear, they're longer, so they push this front end forward like it is now, and that puts your knuckles at a weird angle if you don't have the proper lift, and it makes it hard to turn. So I've already done one. I don't think I had to show you, but well, let me just show you this. Right now, if you try to put it in there, I don't have fingers, but the part we're touching right there, that hits, so it won't go. It'll actually fit. My green Jeep, I've never done this because it's self-clearances, but I just stuck it up in a vise. You can see I just kind of flattened these surfaces down. And now, I think this one I'm gonna put on this side. You can see, well, it's closer, so now it'll move and we can get this thing bolted up. But where we're gonna run into is where it's touching right there. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do to make it easier for y'all. So let me get started and figure out what I want to do. Got both control arms stuck up there. This is better back here, so we got clearance in there. And now you can see I'm about, I don't know, about 6 inches from the bump stop. And this is the part that you can't see because there's not enough light. That's the only clearance issue you're gonna have when you run these things on a Cherokee. It touches, but if you take it out, get it done, and go jump a few hills, you're good. So if you wanted to, you could take that out, clearance it, hit it with a hammer, do something like that, but it's going to be just fine because, yeah. Now, the only kicker with the lowers that I don't really like is this area right here. So we'll start letting it down, what y'all can see. Let's see. So we're not, well, let me just get a shocking stick up there and see how close we are, because I might not even do crap, to be honest. But you can see you may have to notch that in there, then sometimes notch, or you can notch this thing. So let me get a shock and see how much travel we're gonna be skipping out on. This ain't as bad as I was thinking it was. Like, if you want more flex, I get it. And honestly, we're not gonna touch on it that big in this video, but flex doesn't make your vehicle go as much better as people try to. It's just literally a flex, brag. People want it to flex out 40 foot, like that's gonna make it do better. There's obviously an argument there, but it's not so big that that's the only thing it should be worried about. Justin's Red Jeep, y'all seen it climb everything that it needed to climb, except Turtleback. Sorry, Justin. But that wasn't like a flex, and he runs a bone stock shock in the stock location, and it works fine. And I do admit my green one, I wanted a little bit more. It flexes more. Flexes pretty good for a short arm, but it honestly doesn't outgo his ever. Like, there's never been a spot where my green one flexing more than his red one meant that it would go over an obstacle any better. That's definitely an arguable subject, and it probably hurts somebody's feelings, but I'm just telling the truth. That's me and Justin's going to do a video. We're going to take where your shock mounts, and we're just going to put solid ride where you have no suspension. We're going to go off-road one day, but that's when I find time that I don't have. But anyway, it's touching right now, and I stuck the shock up there. That's bottomed out. I mean, literally, that is factory. So, trying to think. I think for this application, I want just a touch more flex because of the tire situation. So all I'm going to do is probably pinch this off right there, the shock mount, and then right in here, I'm going to do the same thing we did right here. I'm just going to cut both sides, hit it with a hammer, and I'm just going to let this thing ride. I think my white ZJ, I come in here and like cut down and cut this where it'll flex way down there. It's just a lot of work. If you want to and you want bigger shocks and more travel, then yes, you can pie cut this, fill it back in, and these arms will still be just fine. But for this Jeep, I'm trying to keep it pretty simple where y'all can follow step by step along. So we'll get these pulled back off, do that, and then the bump stop situation kind of sucks. I'm gonna try to find a bump stop. Then we gotta talk about springs. I think I got an alternate solution. I put some yellow marks right there. Sweet. Honestly, I think that's gonna get the job done right there. Let me mock it up and see what it looks like. All right, pretty simple. I cut that much off of right there, and then all I did was y'all watched me waylay it with a hammer, and still gotta sit down a little bit, but we've got at least 2 inches, give or take, and I don't know how well it shows up in camera, but you look at the axle, you can tell that's what I didn't change, that's what I did change. And everything, I mean, if you pull on it, the rubber's gonna flex, so yeah, that's all I would do if I was you. Just hit that with a hammer, good to go. So I'm gonna get that side cut, this other one waylaid with a hammer, and then I'm gonna go see if I can find some bump stops and springs. All right, I got my arms notched up there. I actually put that one in a vise and just waylaid it, cut off there, so that's good. Springs, let's talk about springs. I prefer a stock spring. This one, I put a 3-inch block. I was actually gonna put another spacer, but since we're not running really a longer shock, I'm just gonna leave it as is and see what the tire situation is when I get there. But a factory spring, zero, should measure out about 50. Actually, these are pretty small, so this is good. 50 thousandths on the dot. Let's go check out some other springs. Unless you get into coilovers that actually have a spring rate that you choose, if you order a lift spring, it does lift it, but you think of the lift kit company, all they're worried about is lawsuits. So they make them higher, sit higher, but at the same time they make them stiffer to avoid lawsuits. I actually talked to the owner at the time of Grove Country, and that was basically the same thing he said. So let me go check out a spring. So I'm down here in the junkyard just checking some stuff out. And then again, this is gonna be a factory XJ, about 50 thousandths. Blue should be a ZJ, which comes in about 50. Shoot, y'all can't read, my bad. 54 thousandths. Now, ironically, I think these must be 2.5 springs because they measure 48 thousandths actually. So they're actually thinner than a stock spring. And right here, we've got, I don't know what lift kit this actually is, but this is about a 3-inch lift for XJ, and you can see they're 55 thousandths. So that is actually a taller spring, and at the same time it's thicker Let's see. Let's go find I know I've got a 4-inch. I think I've got a 6.5. My Jeep with 8-inch lift is not here. Let's go check those out. Turn the camera on just in case a booger jumped out of here. Sometimes there's a cat that lives in this thing. Alright, Ken. No wasps. So I'm gonna apologize about the lighting. You'll just have to trust me on what I tell you. See that hole in the floor? Cat comes through there. That's gonna be a 6.5, I believe. And it is 63 thousandths. I think that's a 4.5. It is 63 thousandths as well. So those may be 4.5s, honestly, with spacers. So, anyways, that's a full, what, 10 thousandths of an inch thicker. So let me look around and see if I can find an 8-inch lift spring or a 6. All right, I don't even know what this Jeep is. It's the biggest lift around here I can find, but let's stick them up there. 66 thousandths. So let me get back and shop. I'll explain. So real quickly, I can just briefly explain. Every time you step up in a lift spring, they start getting a little bit thicker. And I feel like it's common sense. The thicker they are, the stiffer they should be. So as crazy as it might seem, you see everybody building, excuse me. So as crazy as it may seem, you see everybody building truggies. And they build a mild suspension in the front. They build the really flexy suspension in the rear, real soft. Looks good on paper. When you start up a hill, you always notice them, like the front end will be picking up. There's nothing happening, and everything's happening in the rear. So competition RC rock crawling, ask them guys. You want the back end to hold your vehicle steady going up a hill, and you want your front end doing all the flexing. So we can elaborate more on that. Where I'm going is you want a stock spring, or as close to stock spring as you can for the spring rate. That again is an arguable subject, but we're not going to touch bases on that. I'm just saying, for building a beater Jeep, you want a factory spring. And they're very tricky to get in there. Be careful with spring compressors, but you can see I've let everything down, got the lowers out, and I'm just going to start my way back up till I get my lowers in there. So I ain't going to show how to do that because I don't want somebody getting hurt and then saying that I said do this. So be careful. We'll get them put together and figure out my shock situation. Real quickly, if you notice, I got a ratchet strap pulling this side up, and when you pick it up, that puts this side down. So that one's a harder one to get in. So pick it up this way, put that spring in, and then jack it up, and then put that spring in. You can take a ratchet strap and pull down. Yeah. All right, got everything put back together. Now we need some longer shocks for just a little bit of flex. And I mean, what I'm fixing to do is going to compensate for compression, but our tire to this clearance is fixing to get closed up. So normally you're taking a 28-inch tire and tucking it up in here, and now we're not. We're going to take a bigger tire, so we're not as concerned about getting that tire tucked all the way in there. We're more worried about the tire not rubbing. So normally, I mean, it's common sense, you need a longer shock. Well, we don't. You can buy stud extenders. I don't have very good luck with those, but what I'm fixing to do is, you see, this is where we're bottomed out. That's about as far down as we want to go, give or take. Now I'm sitting here thinking. So what I used to do is put some spacer in here. Actually, what I was using was these lug nuts that you can't do nothing with when the shell falls off of them. So that's about that far. But I'm thinking that we want to get some of these old spark plug sockets that we never use and get some longer bolts and put them in there. So I've got them marked 1.5 inches. I think it's going to be good. So I'm going to cut these things, get some longer bolts, and show you how to chuck them up in there. Brake line, I mean, pretty simple. I'm just going to unbolt it there. I'm going to bring it down to about this area, give or take. Put a self-tapper in there. We ain't worried about extended brake lines. And I know y'all don't care. I went and picked up some new calipers and found a set of used brake pads. So let me get these sockets cut. I'll show you how that is. It's very simple. Gets made fun of, but it does work. All right, those actually look pretty good. I made a picture with some longer ones if I remember to add the picture in, but 1.5 inches is what I went with. So that should give us 1.5 inches more droop. Should have about the same compression, give or take. And I was not able to find bump stops. Every single single Cherokee with that style bump stop that I had out, a front end out, did not have a bump stop. So surely, yeah, I showed the bolts. We know that. Got all of our control arms set up, clearance, we're good there. Shouldn't have to break nothing, worry about those. Now next, let me set the camera down. There's obviously tons of ways you can do this, but for the simplicity, for y'all's sake, we're gonna have about a 3-inch lift now. To get the front end back centered, you need to push it to the passenger side. Yeah, because the track bar pulls it to the driver's side. So even rough country, if you buy like a 4-inch lift, this is what they tell you to do. Take, what I use is a 3/4 inch. It ain't gotta be perfect at all, but try to keep it, you know, parallel to the ground. Put a dot there. So like keep it that way and that way. So that's so right there's where we're gonna drill. Now what you're thinking, that's right on the edge of that material. It is. We're gonna drill it out, we're gonna clean it up, we're gonna stick a washer up there and weld the washer so it won't rip out. So I don't think I got a video of that. I'll show you when I'm done. Got the crossover steering out of the box, and real quick and simple, it just goes from the pitman arm to here, and then it comes off the bottom, goes from there to either side of that. So it's just a much simplified steering. But you can see, if my camera will participate, it's as cheap as it gets, and the welds are not very good. And you ain't really gonna break this, and you ain't gonna break this or the Heim, but I have seen Mark actually break that weld. So we're just gonna lace it up there and make it just a big fat ugly weld. Make sure this doesn't come apart. Some of them's pretty good, but when they ship these out, they want the welds to look good. We don't care if they look good, we just want them not to break. So I'm gonna get that welded up pretty good. And then we're gonna start welding some spider gears. Crazy. And now we're ready to weld. So this is the hole. I drilled it out. I'm gonna push some pressure, try to get it centered. You see that hole's a little bigger. And then, yeah. Some reason when you go to drill this, if you use a regular drill bit, when it gets to the back, it'll try to walk because it's shaking back here. So Harbor Freight, of course, stepper bit. You're supposed to drill a hole 7/16, which is the second step right there. That one I'm touching. But I went ahead and went all the way with this, and that's why that hole's a half, and these don't try to jiggle around, so that's how I did that. And then use 7/16 to go all the way to the back, clean that hole out, and then now I can find what looks to be the happy medium, weld that washer. That'll keep that tab from ripping out right there. And if you notice, I got some new wheel bearings, Rock Auto, and then I just put the old U-joint shafts in there to make sure the spiders are trued up in the center. Let's see, we roll it around here. And I've brake cleaned them. I'm gonna try something that I've never done before. Don't forget to weld that one. Is when you do your first pass, you're burning all the oil off there. So I'm gonna get a torch and see if we can burn the oil off first and see if it does a better weld. The gears actually look clean, but I can see residual oil down in there. So I just got one of these torches here. I'm actually going to weld this one different than I usually do. Just like I said, I'm giving this one away, so I want it to be the best possible. So, number one, put the axles in to line the spiders up, and then you can weld. If you're a hack job, just a junky Jeep you don't care about, you do not have to pull the axles out, but heat treating and stuff that I probably can't even explain, put them in there, run your attack weld, and then pull the axle shafts back out. This one I'm actually going to do different. Make sure it's as good as possible, and I'll show you when we get there. I guess this is probably a smart idea in multiple different ways as far as getting the metal ready to weld, kind of preheat. I mean, better than nothing. And if somebody's wondering about the axles, I'm not using these axles. These are just for mock-up. Alright, I'm going to do this a little bit more and then we'll get the welder and weld her up. Oh, that's one thing. There's a $200 locker on eBay, a helical gear one. I've got one in the Stroker Jeep I want to try for y'all. And then a True Track, that's so far about one of my favorite lockers. If they made like the electric locker, it's expensive. But if I knew that if you broke an axle, it wouldn't mess that locker up, I'd have one right now. But it just comes to your preference, your budget, what you want. This Jeep is cheap, so we're welding it. I got my welder set for about 1/4 of an inch. You can run it a little spicier, but when you're trying to like stack up some material, it just tries to burn in way too hot. So first pass is, if you watch my rear end video, I teach a little bit more about this, but basically, well, quick elaboration in case you watch the other one. Everything, this is obviously the power is coming from the ring gear. The power to transfer from the ring gear and all that is transferred through that drive pin. So if you get a clicker ratchet style locker, you're just going to bust that pin and bust the housing. So think of like a spool is all made together. All we're trying to make sure to happen is this gear, which connects to the axle, we want it to be welded the best we can to this housing. So that's our first pass. I know old school people tell you weld to spiders, weld spider to spider. It does work. It's the same as a clicker locker. You're just going to bust the pin. So we're going to try to weld down there, across there, which I can't do because of the camera. Here we go. First pass, just let that oil burn. Now I'm gonna block y'all's view. Alright, now we're gonna roll it over to the other side. Both axles are turning. Hook her onto there. Alright, so from here forward, I'm going to time lapse it because it's going to take so long, but you'll get to see what I'm doing through that, and then I'll explain at the end why I did everything that I did like that. It'll make sense, and it's going to be the best you can be for hack job stuff. Got the washer welded on there. Got the factory track bar. This one actually had the bolt broke off in it, but I got the bolt out. I prefer to run a bigger bolt. I cut it off and get a WJ. I've never broke that bolt. I just can't keep it tight and it wallers a hole out. But I've never actually done what y'all just witnessed me do. It's good practice, but I just never do it. Again, I want this Jeep, as crappy as it looks, give me a chance. It's gonna be pretty legit. But they all say you're supposed to weld it, and then literally they say you're supposed to bury it in sand so it cools down slowly. Let's see if we can transition light here. I got my crossover steering painted some color, and then I took it, wrapped it up in 2 old welding jackets. Oh my gosh, that is steel. Well, anyway, I parked it beside these tires here to absorb some sunlight, keep it warm, but it's just something they say about cast. You're supposed to weld it, let it cool at its own pace and all that stuff. So that's the reason I did that. So it's like as good as gold. We'll check it out when it's cooled off. And then usually I don't pull the ring gear off, but something about high pinions, these bolts don't have any Loctite on them, and I started seeing them break loose. So I was like, if you're going to take them off to Loctite them, you might as well just take the ring gear off. And I usually put some thread locker right in there just to swell up, keep these bolts tight. These get thread locked. And I did notice the bearings had a little wear in them, so we got some used bearings that look a little better. And we are getting down to the nitty gritty. Very close. So I'm gonna let that thing chill. It honestly will probably have to be tomorrow or tonight. That'll be that. I'll show you any tricks I know about going back together. And then we'll start putting the RCVs in. And then the crossover steering's getting one upgrade that you don't have to do, but I do just to make it even better than it could be. I think it will make sense. This is gonna be difficult on me, not y'all, but I got time to kill. I'm gonna put the crossover steering together. Well, I can work on the knuckles. Oh, my floor. I know y'all don't care. Golly, this has been driving me insane. I don't really have much welding left to do, but I want in this video for this thing to sit back on the ground so you can see the 3-inch lift and all that stuff. So I think I'm gonna start the tires and wheels in the next video, but since y'all made it to the end, you get to see a little bit of that. So I'm gonna go get the tires and wheels, work on the steering right there, and I think I can go ahead and mess with the steering, and then we'll worry about the carrier when it cools off. I don't really remember the last scene, but let's see, what did I do? I drilled these to 5/8. Trying to think, what did I use? I used a stepper bit and I stopped at 5/8. I wish I had one that was 5/8, but I don't. And then obviously I got a drill bit. Those was easy. The knuckles, I don't know if this is cast steel. I don't know if that's forged, maybe. I could be wrong, but it was really hard to drill. And I could be dead wrong about the whole forging, but it's 640. I promise, I'm pretty sure I welded that differential at about 2 o'clock, maybe 3. No, it was like 1 o'clock. But so it's been, we'll just call it 6 hours. And I know it probably won't be on video that cool. Somewhere in here, 106, 115, 16. So it's even warmer, 130 degrees. Holy moly. Yeah, so I'll tell you what, let's just, I don't know if I can get to the thing. Golly, it's still cooking. 215 degrees. That is freaking wild. I ain't got to the metal yet. Golly, it burnt the thing. Somewhere in there. I want to get to the metal, but at the same time, I don't want to burn myself. Where is it at? Well, anyways, I mean, at this point, y'all believe me, it's still freaking hot. So I'm gonna wrap the thing back up and just continue to let it do what it's doing. I got other things to do. Got those to put, well, I can't put those in, so I'll put that. Oh, I got some studs, and I got a reusable gasket. So if you ever have to pull this front end back out, got the studs, make it easy. Don't have to use no Permatex. Put a hack job spray paint. I forgot that I'm supposed to be making it look good, but got that. Yeah, so that thing's got to cool out there. I think I'm gonna start tires and wheels so we can get it sit on the ground. All right, it's been about 22 and a half hours, or 21 and a half. Hopefully this thing's cooled off. One thing I got to thinking about too is usually when you weld them in the housing, you get all that weld splatter. So I've basically avoided that for the most part. It's probably all on the ground, or I don't know. I'd say this welding jacket's probably burnt. Yeah. Basically burnt. Oh, this is nice. So when I get in there, I'll let you see the welds, but all I'm gonna do is make sure there ain't no weld splatter here where the gears bolt on. If there is, it'll be alright. Just take a chisel and knock it off there or something. Feels like a lot of splatter. Nothing major though. There's one caught my rag. I'm gonna knock it off. No, y'all can't see. It's just a little sliver of metal. I think that's it. Alright. Set this to the side. Take some brake clean. Clean this surface right here off. And this is one of these things that I've come up with. It could be dead wrong, it could be right, I don't know. But obviously the bolts, we're gonna put enough red Loctite. If you're tearing this thing back apart and worried about the bolts, probably everything's shot. So don't be afraid to put too much. Gonna go ahead and put them on these bolts too. And while we're on the subject, it's crazy. People want to go to the Dana 44. The Dana 44 has the same caps. And I've talked to many people that go to a Dana 44, you just blow these caps out. So the argument between a Dana 44 and a Dana 30, that's a good one. I'd like to do a video on it, but I honestly don't know if anybody would watch it. They wouldn't care. So I just smear some red right there, and supposedly thread locker expands, so when you bolt this together, it's just going to expand and hold everything tight. Alright, got that on there. Get you 2 bolts and drop them through. Pick this up. Hopefully it still goes in. You probably could heat this ring gear and all that stuff and put this in the freezer, make it go on there better, but it'll be alright. Alright, let's torque them to spec. Alright, let me get this chunk set up in there, and then we'll kind of look at where I welded it, and then I'm going to get the axles, the brakes, the knuckles, all that stuff. There's one more thing that I'm going to do. You don't have to do, but you can. So I'm going to show you. Let me get this cinched together. Alright, real quick before I seal this thing up, let's see if y'all can see in the camera. Kind of hard to tell. Like I said, most you welding just goes down through here, and it's going to stick to steel. So trying to concentrate on getting it to the cast. See right there. You could probably weld this more. I think this is gonna be fine. We'll see. If not, if it breaks, you can blame me. And then I just weld these to kind of make this whole thing one unit piece, if that makes sense. Instead of these just hanging out here not being structural. Hopefully now they're hanging in there being a little structural. But if you want to weld a plate, you can. I've done it. I've not done it. It's whatever. I only had one bust in my green one, and I give it full credit. It deserved it. Did get some used brake pads, and you can see it comes with just that one and that one. And I put some extras. Hopefully that just helps clean out the mud. It's not really a road vehicle, so I don't think it's that specific, but I'm almost there. For some reason, if I didn't elaborate, Giveaway Jeep has RCVs. So we're getting there. I'm telling you, give me a chance. It'll come together. You won't even remember which Jeep it is, and then I got another idea I might consider. Alright, working on the brakes. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But right there's a little piece that I just ground off there. And depends on what year model you got for the brake line. But see a little notch where my thumb, it only sits right there. So let's see, this one I have not ground off. See, yeah, you can see right there's a little lip. So this little spot that now we can see. So I know it's dirty, but see a little groove right there. This brake line will only sit right there. Well, you can see we're getting pretty tight. It's this one I haven't moved, but I take and grind that off there, and then you can phase and put it wherever you want. And I went from there to there, kind of straighten this line out. This is as far back as the suspension will go, so we should be clear there. Everything from when it compresses, it'll go away from that. So that's that, but you can see, I mean, we're still gonna be pretty tight right there, but I'm just gonna put this on there, and then instead of it being like they want it sticking straight out for some reason, we'll just tweak it up where it'll be right across the bleeder. We should be pretty good right there. Then the track bar, let's see. One reason I prefer to do this, number one, it gets the front end centered with the Jeep as it's lifted. But truthfully, the only reason I really care about doing it is if you remember back to the first video, this is going to hit there. So when you take and push it this way, just, I mean, 3/4 of an inch, that's just that much. It's helping from, it'll have everything scooted over just a smidge, and it's one of those, it's not really right, but it works. I think my green Jeep is actually like 1.25 inches, and it's still smashing oil pumps. This is crazy. This never works. It's full droop and a bolt goes right in, but you gotta tighten all the bolts when they're on the ground. It's not hugely important, but I recommend doing it. Let me finish up these brakes. Starting to put the steering together, and well, it's hard to teach heim joints in a video. They sent me the wrong ones. You can see the bolt does not go in there, but you can get different ones with different things. But see how these won't have much flex, I guess is the word I'd use. They're okay to use like right here, and then they're okay to use on this one that goes from here to there, because they don't go up and down. Or this one with the drag link, the suspension goes up and down, so it needs what's called a high misalignment. So you put these little things in there and it enables it to flex. It's all just sitting there. I'm trying to be careful. But this is the part, you do not have to do this at all. But I like to be sure that my crap's not going to break, so I do stuff like this. As you can see, all I've done, it's got me a piece of flat bar. I can't get it to sit there no more. How in the world did I have this sitting here? Okay, so coming. Hi. So, pretty simple. Drill a hole in it, make it look pretty, and then I'm gonna cut it like 80% of the way right there where it can bend real easy, and then obviously I'm gonna cut this off. Then I'll come back, bolt it in, take a hammer, tap it down till it gets close to there, then I'll grind it off there, get it ready to weld. And when you weld to the knuckle, it will stick. You got to weld the absolute crap out of it, get it really hot. So there'll be somebody in there saying that it don't stick. It does. You just gotta weld it. And again, if you wanted to preheat it, do all the proper techniques, it probably makes sense. But only one time have I done this on my green Jeep, and I regretted it ever since. Is, you'll see later on. Is this recording? Yeah. So obviously you want everything as high up, high clearance as possible. Stay. Ideally, you would want, let's see if I can do this. Whoa. Here we go. Use my freaking face pry bar. Okay, so ideally that would be ideal. It's got both of them on the top side, but let's see. The brake clears, but the wheel will rub right there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna show you till I'm done. I'm gonna put the crossbar is gonna go on the high side of the knuckle on that side, and on this side it's gonna go underneath, where this one can stay on top. So that's a little different on the WJs. They have two, but we'll just cross that bridge another day. I didn't want to do WJ knuckle swap to confuse anybody. So anyways, I'm gonna get those cut, and when I finish them I'll show you, and you should be able to make pretty good sense of it. And about it. Now you can just see how simple it is. You can see I've just cut like that. Got it just loosely bolted. We'll take a hammer, and then obviously I'll probably need to put a little more. Let's see. Oh yeah, maybe that's the way you should do it. Put it up there. And now we'll get her centered up. We'll put some paint pen there, some paint pen there. Now we know that we need to grind that area. And be sure, if you do this, because I've done this too many times, hold on. I've done it twice, Mark's done it once, and I don't know how many other people's done it that I don't know about. Is this gets really close to the brake rotor, so looks like we're good on this one. Kind of angled it in there, so anyways, I'm gonna get that cleaned up. I'm gonna do one on the bottom, I'm gonna do one on that side, and this one's going on the top, and we'll just do it the same way there. And you can see these don't have the alignment spacer, so it'll be just really thin like that. Man, that's getting really close. Let me knock that out. Looks pretty good. Looks like something off a rock bouncer, but it's not. It's a Jeep Cherokee. Gonna weld them up. For this video, this will be the last time you get to see underneath this Jeep. The tires and wheels are behind you, so I always try to like make some reward if you make it to the end of the video. There's something there. So I'll let you see the tires and wheels. Those will be in a different video as far as, well, you can see the wheels. I don't guess there's no reason to shame you from seeing them now. We're on a budget. But I think I'm about done. We obviously got to line everything up in here. The steering, but all those got welded up good. I wound up using a little spacer there. Just, it looked weird with no spacer at all. As far as, oh, this one too, I forgot. It's really high. I'm just sticking the camera up there. You see right here, I put 2 big healthy welds. That's not something you have to do. But about every Cherokee, especially the ones with those drop bracket track bars, when you turn, you'll hear like this popping noise. It's usually those bolts in there. It's just kind of a bad design. So tighten those up really good, or if it's trail rig or you don't care, weld it. You can always reach up over the grinder and cut those off and get them back off. Or you can just leave it welded. TJs are made on the frame, so they're not detachable. See if I got the camera and the light in one hand here. So we've got crossover steering, top and bottom, heim joint, not mandatory. The V8 steering is okay, but it's still got the stupid Y-link and it hangs up right here and it hits you sway bars. So that's that. We've got this brace. We've got a little bit of bracing under here. We get that from braking. Stock gift cover's pretty good. Got braces there. Knuckle braces only on the top, so you're good there. And then as far as budget goes, got some new wheel bearings. Factory springs. All the W weld the washer. That's that. I haven't set in this video, see a little groove. Try to make sure these are smooth if you want perfect Jeep. Little brace there, kind of unnecessary. We still got to tighten all the bolts up. Factory straps, if you watch that video, I talked a little bit more about them, but we've never broke one of those right there. If you break one of those, you broke something else first, or there's a reason they're breaking them. They don't just break for no reason, in my opinion. So that's that. This is pretty cool. I use AN line. I can't get it up there to show you, but I needed a filter, so I had this laying around. I've never seen anybody use it. It's a body scuff, painter scuff pad, Scotch-Brite. So it's kind of like a filter, but it ain't. And then factory dry shaft, and this one I'm not even taking out. Need to look up in there and make sure you've got spacer U-joints. You have to look through the hole and look for like the circular center part right there where I'm touching. If you don't have spicers, you're just living on a prayer. You can use anything else. It's just my opinion. As far as the front, transmission lines, I'm still gambling on those, but if you follow this build to the end, we'll see. And then rear end, that's all on a different video there, so I'll link it below. This will be like a series. So yeah, let me let it down and finish these brakes up, roll the tires in. So the tires, I'll elaborate more when I do that video. Everybody's expecting me to show up on 32s. Honestly, I wanted to, but I found a deal. Check out these things. I'm making them all four in here. Well, UTV 35 stickies. MRT Desert Storm. So these are actually a really good tire. Let me get them wheeled in. Like I said, I admitted I wanted 32s, maybe 33s. These popped up. I'll tell you more about them next video. I couldn't pass them up. So the first test with this will be Windrock, and it's a lot of just ruts from side by side. So I think some 35s on some factory wheels, maybe wheel spacers with some bead locks is going to be the right combination, because side by side tires don't run a real wide patch. So I'm trying to keep a skinny wheel. I think a factory wheel is about a 7. So should work out there. Still may look a little goofy, but we're gonna roll with it. So I don't think there's nothing left I need to tell you about. So like RCV is gonna have a spot where you dimple in there. You can, but honestly, this nut I pretty much tighten with an impact gun, a small one, about 250 foot-pound. Usually tighten this thing every single ride. It just, when you're beating on them and stuff, it'll kind of wiggle loose or settle in, whatever it does, I don't know. So yeah, they're gonna tell you not to do it. I do it every single time and it's fine. So don't run that. And then like these things here, I don't run the cotter, that one, dang, I forgot about that. I don't run the cotter key in it because you always got to constantly tighten it. Usually not so much on that one. And this end, like I said, I haven't tried welding them yet. That's something that'll come loose, but yeah. And then the one cool thing about the crossover steering is your toe doesn't change. So that's one reason I want some tires and wheels, so I can set my toe, get that straight, and then get it sit on the ground, get the steering wheel straight, and then get all these joints tightened up. Probably not gonna show that, but if you are tightening them, usually if you got an impact gun, try to get on the nut side. You can get it a little bit tighter that way, but make sure they're tight, all of them. So yeah, let me get this thing buttoned up. I'm gonna start that video, get those knocked out, and then the ending scene will be this thing sitting on the ground on a set of 35s with a small lift. Usually not my style, but we're gonna go with it. One random thing I was thinking about, I was putting new brakes on here, and if you don't, China's so cheap that these bolts are supposed to be a 13 millimeter. Grab that socket, I was gonna show you. Let's see, 13 millimeter. They may be a half, I don't know. Well, let's just try it. We're on video, we're on YouTube. We can do stuff like that on YouTube, can't in short. So yes, it is a 13 millimeter, half will not fit. So if you get one of these, they're China's so cheap, they make them 12 millimeters, even 11 millimeters, or even 10 millimeters to save that much. But throw these things in the garbage because there is not a single bolt on this Jeep from front to back that is a 12 millimeter top to bottom, you name it. There is no 12 millimeters. No, at all. Well, AW4 has some in it, my bad. But you ain't working on it. But throw them things away because the factory bolt's a 13, and if you break a CV or a U-joint or for RCV for some weird reason, the hub bolt is a 13. So RCV's in the way, but yeah, a wrench fits that hub bolt right there. So 13 millimeter there, 13 millimeter on the hub, and then that's why I like Jeeps. Used to, we'd carry 13 millimeter, that's it. Take the wheel off, 13 millimeter, you can change the axles out. So yeah, throw away those cheap bolts. All right, this is so strange, you'll see in a second, but this will be the ending for the rear end build, and this will be the ending for the front end build. I promised if you stuck the video out, I'd let you see the tires and wheels. Be glad you did. And it's so weird because right there is a camera for the other video. I just needed a scene to end this video. Appreciate you sticking it out. The tires swelled up. I don't even remember if I showed them in these two videos. Anyways, here you go. They're freaking massive. They're MRT 35s, but they got the cool stuff. They're stickies, they're cheap. And since y'all been here last, I've beat and hammered in all that. And then I've tucked away this. I've made some homemade bead locks, and then I've made them stiffeners. So yeah, this Jeep is ready to go. So I'm gonna go back to that camera. Actually, that camera, to be honest. But what I'm gonna do is sit it down here, and if you feel like sticking it out, I'm gonna put the tires and wheels on, do a quick walk around, and then the next video right there, golly, we've built the winch mount, we've built transmission lines, we're moving a battery, moved the computer, power steering cooler, transmission cooler, a lot of stuff. So if you see the next one, you'll learn. It's just some randomness stuff. So let's get the tires on. Those are big. What am I gonna do now then? And I still could marketplace some tires, maybe. As long as they fit, this thing's gonna be going Jeep. It's gonna be ridiculously going. Should be lighter than ours that I ride in with bigger tires. When's she gonna stop? The front end may need more lift. How is the back end that high? What is going on? Wow, I may have to take this off. That's crazy. Well, it may look goofy and avoid people from buying it. Maybe it ain't that bad. Maybe it needs some more in the front. But for the event, I know I'm gonna have to carry a bunch of stuff in the back. So by the time you put spare tires, it's empty of gas, battery in the back. So I'm just gonna leave it for now. It'll obviously get the job done, but I don't like the reverse tooted look. So yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah. Golly, those are gonna be some tires. I mean, that does look terrible. Why did it come out so bad? That's 3 inches of spacers, and that's 2. And I still got weight to put up there. That's weird. I can't really get rid of much lift in the rear, but I don't know. I'll just keep rolling with it. I still got stuff to do up here. I mean, yeah, we've put chains on the steering box. We've built a winch. We built a little brace there. Working on the power steering, move that. Yeah, I'm gonna quit enticing y'all to not watch the next video because I still got a lot of work to do. Oh yeah, this thing's gonna be going. So appreciate it if you watched it. Apologize about this ending. It's a weird situation for me, but y'all literally have a how-to guide. Obviously, mine's ratchet 4-length in the back, ghetto 4-length. Justin's is ghetto 4-length. We're gonna see if the blocks are gonna work. I think they're gonna be fine, but front end, you literally got a foolproof guide to have this same front end that I have in my Jeep that holds up. So there you go. Hope you enjoy, hope you learned. Golly, this is tall for a 2-inch lift. Oh, I guess 35s is what's making it so tall. I'll get it figured out. Have a good day. Thank you for watching.